Hello. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Miss Rivera with Eagle Valley High School. In addition to being a teacher and instructor for CMC, I am also a performance enhancement consultant um, and working on my PhD in performance psychology. So, I hope you are having a good wellness week. It's a little different than our normal wellness week. I'm going to spend a little time today talking to you about some mental health wellness tips for the situation that we're currently in. This is an unprecedented situation, and we have a lot of psychologists out there really working on trying to help those of us that are having a little bit harder time coping with the situation, which I don't think is a small number. I think that's a lot of people out there that are trying to cope with being isolated and having a whole new type of lifestyle right now that's not one that we're very used to. So what I've done today is I've basically have made some modifications to Margie Donlan's suggestions for mental health wellness tips for quarantine. I've adapted her tips of 25 different things that you can do um, down to 15, and kind of fits more for the age group that this Wellness Week is centered upon, and that is our adolescent age group. So I'm going to lower the music, which this is the Rudy soundtrack. If you ever have seen the movie Rudy, or if you haven't, I highly suggest it. It's a great uplifting film. Shows a great growth mindset, and that's really kind of the type of mindset we all need right now. But this type of music has been a varied one of many various types of music that I've been listening to over the past week. It kind of just helps me to have different types of music that I'm exposed to throughout this week. It kind of allows me to experience different moods instead of having the same thing over and over. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is things that you can do to help your psyche through this whole quarantine. So let's go ahead and get started. So I have made a 15 points here, and let's talk about the first one. The first one is find a routine, which is really hard. Many of you have probably taken this first couple of weeks to kind of treat it like a break. But we really need to start finding a routine, especially if we're going to be in quarantine for a few more weeks. And that's kind of what it's sounding like. Find a schedule, find a wake up schedule and a sleep schedule. Your body, your mind, we have these things called circadian rhythms. Your body and mind is used to being on a schedule. Some of you getting up at 7 o'clock, going to school, going to practice, doing your homework, and then going to bed. Find your schedule. It doesn't have to mimic what you were doing before this whole quarantine thing, but it doesn't hurt to mimic it either. So I've been trying to get up. I get up about an hour later than I normally used to. So I get to sleep a little bit which is nice. But I get up and I shower. And majority of days, I do allow myself on weekends to act like it's a normal weekend, just to help me understand that it's a different type of day. But I do get up on the weekdays and I shower and I put on my clothes and I do my hair as much as I want to do. I mean, this isn't much of anything, but that's okay. I'm doing something. And I get myself ready as if I'm going to school. Maybe my clothes are a little different. Maybe I choose sweatpants instead of jeans sometimes. But try to find your routine, and then vary your weekly activities just like you would normally. Normally for me, maybe Friday nights were kind of a different type of activity that I would do, because I knew it was Friday night. I had the weekend to go. Vary your activities. Try and maybe schedule some things. I'll talk more about what you can be scheduling in there and trying to vary some stuff. But if you're an athlete, maybe you're getting up at, let's say, 9, okay? Getting ready for the day and then doing your schoolwork. And then maybe by 2, 3-ish, around normal time when you'd be going to practice, go do something physical. Okay. If you're not an athlete, but you did an after school activity like drama or something, find something creative to do. Maybe you're working on a speech and debate piece for next year. Okay, it doesn't hurt to do those things. Maybe you decide, all right, I'm not doing speech and debate, but maybe I'm going to put some time aside to practice a new hobby that I want to do. So we're going to talk about more things like that. Dress and ready for the day. I think the biggest thing is that I've seen this meme floating around, getting ready to change out of my daytime pajamas and into my nighttime pajamas. And while that's fun to do for about a week, studies show us that when we do that constantly and we aren't doing anything new in our routine and not getting ready for the day, it can lead to depression. It can lead to anxiety. So as much as that sounds like, hey, that's kind of fun, I'm going to stay in my pajamas all day for a week. I haven't been out of these pajamas in 4 days, that type of thing. We really see study-wise the correlation is there that that's not very good for our psyche. So we need to get up. We need to get ready. We need to get kind of a routine of things going and kind of creating those purposeful days for ourselves. Get out and move. So important. Number one, vitamin D. Okay. As humans, we need vitamin D, and the sun provides us with vitamin D. We can get vitamin D through our foods like spinach and tomatoes and things like that, but the sun is really important. For the people that don't get sunlight, we're very fortunate to live in a state that gets a lot of sunlight. We have over 300 days of sunlight. Take advantage of that. For people who don't get sunlight, they suffer through what we call seasonal affective disorder and depression. Okay, so it's called SAD, seasonal affective disorder depression, and that's because there's not enough light. It's really gloomy in some states, upper portions of the United States, Alaska. So get out there, get some sunlight, and maybe while you're out there, maybe you choose to just go outside and sit and read a book, or go outside and take a nap. If you do that, make sure to have some sunscreen though. Or get some movement, go for a walk, go for a run, go for a bike ride. I'm trying to make sure that I myself go for a walk, a good solid walk, at least once a week, and then smaller walks, maybe 2-3 times a week. Dance, move your body. I put this up here. This is a book called The Joy of Movement, which is a book done by I'm going to slaughter the name, Dr. McGonigal. And she did studies about how movement releases a chemical in our brain known as acetylcholine that helps us to feel good. It helps our memory. It helps our body to release other neurotransmitters like serotonin, and that's good. That keeps us from falling into deep depressions. So dance, there's that vary up the schedule. Maybe on Wednesdays you have dance party. Maybe you Zoom with some friends and you have a dance party. Create TikToks. That's awesome because people are moving and they're dancing. Do yoga. That's always, that hits 2 things on this particular lecture that I'm doing. 1, it causes us to move. 2, it's humorous. For those of you who know, I'm married to Mr. Dupree, and when we do yoga, 1, it's helping us to stretch our body and get us moving, but also it is so humorous to watch both of us try to do some of the yoga moves. And so there's times that we're just giggling and laughing, and that's perfect. So maybe you make Thursdays your yoga days, So get some movement, get outside, get some movement. Connect. So important to connect. Do your Zooms, do your Google Meets, schedule times to meet up with friends that you haven't seen in a while. Family. I have probably 1 Google Meet per day with either family or students. We have a lunchtime meeting with my students, and it's a weekly thing now that there's about 8 students that come into lunch, and we just hang out and we talk about whatever, and we make each other laugh. Connecting with your siblings. Some of you may have to be babysitting throughout your days. And I know those siblings can probably be a pain in the butt, but these are going to be precious memories that you're going to have with your siblings that they're going to remember for their life. And so try to make sure that you're putting in a little time that's not just schoolwork or you kind of having them watch TV. Try to put in a little time to be fun, creative together. I know that's hard because you're probably together for 24 hours a day, but definitely remember that there's some good in everything. Okay. Hydrate and eat well. I think probably the biggest thing I noticed was I wasn't hydrating as much as I had been when I'm in school. I normally get through about 3 bottles of these things in a school day. And about the first week, I realized I was getting through 1. Many of you carry your water bottles around to class and you're drinking throughout the day, or you take a break in your class and go fill up your water bottle. That's probably not happening as much now. Hydrate, eat well, hydrate with water. You probably have maybe some more access to some of those sugary drinks and stuff like that. Do the water bottle thing, drink well, eat well. It's really easy to just snack all day. Bored snacking. Snacking because you're bored is a really common thing. Try to eat, some good foods in there and varying it up. They always say the more colorful your food, the more healthy it is. I know produce is hard, especially for those of you that may not be able to get to the store as often as you used to. But try to remember to ask mom and dad maybe to grab some fruit, fresh veggies for you, in addition to all those processed foods, the Takis and the goldfish and stuff like that. Make sure to be eating well, help yourself there. That makes us feel better. The more we eat processed food and processed sugars, we don't release as many of the good neurotransmitters that make us feel good about ourselves. Treat yourself though. Every once in a while you can get that dopamine rush with some sugar. Just don't overdo it. Rooms in the house. Some of you are probably confined to a particular room all day long, maybe your own room all day long. That's not healthy. Some people have maybe 3 or 4 rooms that they can choose from. Some people have more rooms that they can choose from. What I suggest that you do is you have your space, your workspace, and your play space, okay? I started to find myself working in one room all the time, and I just got burned out. I didn't want to work anymore. So then I started to do some of my work every day in another room, and that helped. So I was doing my teaching work in one room, and then I would go do my own school work, because I am also a student at the same time, in another room. And that really helped. That helped me not have just the burnout of doing all 10 hours of screen time in the same room. So if you have the ability to change your scenery a little bit, that's going to be very helpful. Okay. One thing we can do is we can turn on the TV, and I know many of you probably don't turn on the TV for this in particular. Most of you are probably watching Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime, but the news can be overwhelming. So if you are watching the news, if you're one of those people that needs to know what's going on all the time, I would say limit this. I would say a good rule of thumb is maybe limiting to, if you're an over news watcher, if you're a consumer of news, I would say maybe an hour in the morning, hour in the evening at max. Limit that conversation about what's going on. There's a lot of really, really hard things to swallow that's going on in our world right now, and you do not need to obsess on that. You do not need to create more anxiety for yourself. And if that is becoming a trigger for you, you need to limit that conversation, because it's all that's in the news right now. It's all that's on our Facebook feeds, so just be real careful about that. I'll talk more about some anxiety stuff in a little bit. Take control. You are in control, even though it doesn't feel like it. Every email we get from the school about extension dates, or, we start wondering about graduation or what's going to happen with this or that, what's going to happen in the fall. You can't let your mind cycle. If you start to globalize that anxiety, it's going to be all encompassing. Take control. Take control of the things that you can control. And what I mean by that, take control. Learn a new hobby. Do a jigsaw puzzle. Do the things that you can control. Jigsaw puzzles are great because you don't have to just sit there and do the jigsaw puzzle. You can be just walking by the jigsaw puzzle and be like, oh, I found a piece. Okay. Learn a new hobby. Is there something that you wanted to do? I know that some students I talk to are drawing or doing air paint brushing, and that's awesome. Learn a new hobby. If you're babysitting a lot of your siblings, take control. Be the teacher. Set up daily schedules. It doesn't have to be all day long, but maybe there's a schedule that you follow for your siblings. That now is math time. All right, so we're gonna start working on our math. Now is snack time, or we're gonna have recess time. Take control. Some of you may find that you are a teacher at heart, or you are a caregiver at heart, and so you may find craft a new hobby or a passion of yours within this time. Try to see it as an opportunity versus something that you cannot control. Okay. Let it out. I think a lot of people think that they need to be strong all the time during this whole thing. And it's okay to let it out. It's okay to cry. I've had a good solid 3 cry sessions in this 3 weeks. I'm averaging probably about 1 a week. It's okay. Your feelings are valid. You're allowed to feel those feelings. And your siblings, your parents, they're allowed to do that. This is hard. This is not easy. As much as we can say, oh, all we're doing is just sitting on a couch and watching television. This is hard on our minds. Let it out. Our vulnerability is okay. If your siblings are seeing you crying, that's okay. It just shows them in the future, even their big sister or big brother, who are their heroes, can feel. And that's a good thing. We can't just try and hide our feelings. I think one of the coolest movements that's going around in the United States right now is the 8 o'clock Howl at the Moon. You can jump on Facebook and you can find groups all over. There's one here in Colorado that 8 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, or Mountain Daylight Savings Time. They are going out on their porches and howling at the moon. And if you jump onto one of those Facebook pages, you'll see some great stories about people that are like, oh, I howled at the moon and my neighbor didn't know what I was doing and they started howling. And, so there's just some really good things, but that may be cathartic. That may allow you to release some of that pent up energy of, I can't control this right now and I'm really upset. The other day I went with my friends up to the Dotsera volcano. We ended up being in such a great mood, but the whole idea of going up there was just to yell into the volcano and just yell our anger into the volcano and frustrations. And we ended up not. We actually got done with that hike and we said, oh my gosh, we forgot to yell. And we kind of thought to ourselves, well, that's good. We were happy. We were getting our vitamin D and we were finding our outlet in other means. So let it out. Find the humor. Gosh, if anything is saving me right now, it is the humor of things. Look at kind of things from oh my gosh, this is so ironic. This is so crazy. But find the humor in things. The more you can laugh, you're going to release those great neurotransmitters like oxytocin. Actually, it's a hormone. You're going to release serotonin. The more you can laugh, the better you're going to feel. So try to find humor in things. Like I said, yoga is a great way to find humor because you are going to be putting yourself in positions that you didn't think your body could do and probably can't do, or watching somebody else do it. So find that humor. Find the humor in your day. And I go back to the creating of different routines. Do things different day. You don't have to do all these things at once. Okay. Yoga might be our Thursday. We might have family movie night, or movie night with my siblings. If I've been in my room alone watching Netflix, maybe I invite my sibling in and we decide on a movie together. Sharing experiences is going to automatically lead to things like finding humor and connections. And the more we release that oxytocin, the better we're going to feel. Notice the good in the world. Be the good in the world. There's a lot of wonderful things going on, and try and expose yourself to some of those great things that are going on. This is a picture of of siblings that they've been practicing on their cellos, and they've been inside practicing. And what they did was they just went around to their neighbors, and you can see they're completely social distancing from each other. And they brought their own instruments and their own chairs, and they would play for their neighbors. And so they were practicing at the same time, but then they were spreading some joy to their neighbors. And so they scheduled that time in. So try to find the good things. If you can do service, I know NHS is doing some wonderful things right now. If you can service in any way that doesn't in any way put you in any harm or the people around you in any harm, then do it. Writing letters, things like that. The art of snail mail letters, it's an old lost art. Maybe writing family. How cool would it be to receive a letter from a family member right now? So try and find the good or see the good in the world. This one's a big one. Give people the benefit of the doubt. We're all under a weird kind of stress right now. Maybe your parents are working in a position at work, essential staff, that puts them at risk. Give them a break when they come home. They're stressed. You're stressed. Your siblings, even your little siblings that don't really know what's going on and that this isn't normal in life, they're stressed. So give people the benefit of the doubt. They're going to feel emotions that sometimes they can't control. That goes back to the, control what you can control. And sometimes they can't control that and they have an outbreak. Maybe it's anger. Maybe it's crying. Sometimes it's laughing. Sometimes we get in such giggling modes because we're just so psychologically tired and stressed. And so sometimes we just laugh and then it turns into crying. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Be nice. We're all under a weird type of stress that, I'm going to be honest with you, has never been studied before. And so we don't really know exactly how to advise people right now because, well, this is unique in our history and in our human history. Okay. But give people the benefit of the doubt. Keep in mind, this is temporary. This is not our new normal. Okay. This is temporary. And even though weeks may seem long, or possibly a couple of months maybe seem a really long time, this is temporary. This too shall pass. Okay. Don't globalize things. Don't honestly, try not to think more than about a week at a time. Right now, our leaders are kind of doing it in chunks of 2 weeks. Like, we're going to go 2 more weeks in quarantine, or we're going to go 2 more weeks in quarantine. That's because we don't know enough to say when this is going to be, we're going to be in a good situation that our healthcare system can handle the amount of people that are sick. So you yourself don't have to think beyond a week at a time. Okay. So remember, this is temporary. Try not to globalize this too much. Find the lesson. Everything has a wonderful lesson. I sit there and think about the lessons that I've learned so far. And I think the lessons that I've learned is that I need to cherish the connections that I've made. Even more so, I miss my parents a ton. I would do anything to hug them right now. And I've realized that the lesson is I need to be making sure I'm visiting them more. That I'm taking advantage of free time in some senses, and maybe Netflix can take a back seat on a weekend in the future so that I can go and visit my parents. Maybe for you, it's finding the lesson of your siblings, how important your siblings are to you. And if not your siblings, your friends, and making sure you never lose those connections because maybe they're the ones that are getting you through the hard time. Um, excuse me. I would say gratitude is a big lesson in maybe vocalizing our gratitude to people around us right now, and for what they're doing for us, both physically and mentally. And if you're not in a state where gratitude is something you feel is something you can give, maybe the people around you don't deserve that gratitude, find your support system. Okay, that's really important, is find those people that are giving you the time to feel good about yourself. And if you can't find that, if you're at a loss, ask for help. You have everybody that's seeing this most likely is part of Eagle Valley High School, and you have people that care. There are teachers that are working their rear ends off because they care about you. If you happened to email them and say, "I'm not well," I guarantee you that teacher is going to pay attention to you, okay, and give you that time, and try and make that connection that you need so desperately. I am going to throw this up there. Here in Eagle County, if you have any feelings where you feel as if you are in desperation, please call the crisis hotline. The crisis hotline for Eagle Valley Behavioral Health is 1-844-493-8255, or text talk anytime, day or night. You can text with somebody, talk with somebody. So I beg of you, do not feel as if you are alone in this. There's a lot of people that are ready to help you out, to listen, to let you vent, to let you cry. So I ask you, call that crisis line if you are feeling that you need that help. I know I personally have had about 2 anxiety attacks during this whole thing in 3 weeks. Let me talk to you really quickly. If you find yourself having an anxiety attack, we have a technique that's called the grounding technique. A lot of times it's hard to stop ourselves from having an anxiety attack, but we can do things where we can take control and lessen that anxiety attack to the point where we can stop it. So this is called the anxiety grounding technique. So if you find yourself starting to hyperventilate, starting to cry, you can't control it, somebody around you or you yourself can do these things. The first thing is to do when you find yourself, oh crap, I'm having an anxiety attack, is start to ground yourself, breathing wise. Okay, control that breathing. We call it square breathing. So we call it square breathing because we're going to make a square. So first thing I would do is take a breath in for 2 seconds. Okay, there's my 2 seconds. And then I breathe out for 2. And then I take a breath in for 2 seconds. And I breathe out for 2. I know me personally, I need to do about 3 squares to start to ground myself. Okay. Then, once I'm in control of my breath, I do the following. I look around, I'm breathing. I name 5 things I can see. I see a phone. I see a basketball. I see a water bottle. I see a computer. I see a desk. Okay. And as I'm doing this, I'm breathing. Then I name 3 things I can hear. So it makes me have to focus. I hear the TV in the other room. I hear the wind outside of my house. And I hear some tapping noise. I don't know what it's from. Then once I can do that, I'm probably slowing down my breathing naturally. I don't even have to think about my breathing. I'm going to name, I should have done 4 things that I can touch. Okay, so I touch my desk, I touch my sweater, I touch my hair, I touch my water bottle. Then I do 2 things I can smell. Not a lot of things I can smell. I can smell the detergent. Okay, and then 1 thing I can taste. All right. By the time I usually get to the 2 things I can smell and the 1 thing I can taste, I'm already in a calm. Okay. And then once I'm in my calm, once I've gotten control of things, the big thing is to now go for a walk, go sit outside, go listen to music, do something so that you don't fall back into the anxiety spiral. Okay. So that's a really good technique to practice. I'm sorry I did it out of order, but I'll be honest with you. Usually, about the third stage, you're in control. You're back in that normal breathing pattern. Okay, but it's not enough to just stop the anxiety. Go do something. Okay, and I don't mean just turn on television. Go do something physically. Get those neurotransmitters. Get that acetylcholine. Get that oxytocin or serotonin going. Go outside, get yourself some vitamin D, go for a walk. It's hard when we're in quarantine. You can't just walk around your house. I would suggest, we live in a beautiful state, go out for a little walk, just even if it's pacing right in front of your house for a second. Okay. But release those different neurotransmitters, get yourself in a different state. Be safe, stay at home. Okay. Many people are asymptomatic, and so we don't know that we're contagious. And so we need to be abiding by this quarantine, even if it means I can't see in person my best friend, my boyfriend, my girlfriend. You're putting people at risk that you don't know would be at risk by making those contacts. So please be safe, stay at home, and we'll get through this. I would encourage you all to, I know this is going to be posted on Instagram. I would encourage you all to please ask questions. I am going to answer questions. Maybe there were things I brought up that you need clarification on, or, you have a question about how do I implement this if I have these particular situations. I encourage you to ask questions. Also, I encourage you, if you have questions that you don't want to post on Instagram, you don't feel comfortable, email me. My school email is Danelle, DANELLE.Rivera, RIVERA, at eagleschools.net. I'll be happy to answer your questions there in a more private type of manner. Once again, guys, be well, take care of one another, and we're going to get through this all. So have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thank you. A huge thank you to Ms. Shapiro for putting on this Wellness Week. Couldn't have been more timely placed this year, and hope to see you very soon. All right, all. Take care.